This slide gives an overview of an activity that we'll now lead you through using the stress thermometer. We'll take you step by step as you follow along in your downloadable workbook. Of course, you can go right to the workbook and do the activity yourself, but the next several slides will guide you through it, giving a bit more detail and background on how the activity will help, some examples from other caregivers, and ideas on how to adapt this to your circumstances. If you don't want to use the workbook, that's fine. You can create the activity on a blank piece of paper. It could give you a sense of more flexibility and freedom. You can see on this slide what we will work to accomplish. First, we'll help you identify and label your stress levels. Next, we'll learn how to observe where you actually feel stress in your body. As we've said, there's a strong mind, emotion, body connection, to be certain. Then you'll think about and discover what triggers those stresses and feelings. We'll then talk about how to separate the stress and emotions that you can control and those you can't. And lastly, we'll talk about how to create a meaningful action plan to both prevent negative stress and its triggers, as well as how to cope with and reduce stressful emotions once they hit you. The first step begins on the next slide. The first thing to do when seeking to prevent or calm stress or challenges with mental and emotional health is to become super self-aware. Without trying to eradicate negative feelings or emotions, just try to identify them, label them, and just acknowledge them. Your thoughts and feelings are valid, and you need to give yourself permission to just be with them and accept them, and to name them. So right now, you're likely feeling something. Where is it on this scale? If you completed the chapter on mindfulness, you saw in the video and heard in the audio file the importance of really connecting with your feelings. Mindfulness is awareness, and it's awareness without judgment. It's observing, just observing, not judging, and applying a strong dose of curiosity and kindness to that aware observing. So for you now, circle the words that most closely describe how you really feel. Maybe there are words on multiple parts of the scale, and maybe you don't see a perfect word, so you could write in a word that describes how you feel. Now, this activity works best in the moment when you can call out the feelings you have as you are having them. But because we're teaching this approach and we want it to help you in challenging times, it may be useful for you to pause here and consider a recent situation or condition that was hard or difficult, where you felt a great deal of emotional or mental stress or burden. How did that feel? Perhaps you can identify this on the thermometer as something you felt in the past, maybe even write a P for past by those feelings as you recall them from memory. Spend some good time just listening, just feeling, or just remembering. What does it feel like when you're under pressure, when you feel stretched? What words best describe it for you? Circle the words or write down new words or feelings, and just consider those feelings before you move forward to the next slide. So you've done some observing and remembering what feelings and emotions you've had in the past, what feelings you may have now. If you can practice just observing these feelings and naming them, you'll get better at it. You'll find yourself getting better at labeling your emotions and feelings, and ideally, you'll be able to call them out when you first start feeling them. When you feel any changes, you'll be mindful and curiously aware. For example, maybe as a caregiver, you take your loved one out to do regular grocery shopping, and you've had some negative experiences in doing so. Your loved one may become disoriented or combative, or they may just be slow or picky in how they shop. You likely start feeling things on the lower part of the thermometer before you get to the higher part. And if you'll practice and keep working on naming the feelings, you can start noticing them more accurately as changes come, and you'll notice them earlier. So maybe it's before you ever leave the house, you start to get annoyed or tense. That can move rapidly to worry and nervousness. Being able to call out those feelings as soon as you notice them can help tremendously. And this is the first step, becoming self-aware. The next step is very closely related to the first step. It's becoming aware of where you feel these things in your body. If you can think back on some of the stressful caregiving situations you may have considered already, ask yourself, how do these feelings actually manifest in my physical experience? In your workbook or on your pad of paper, write down some of the places and feelings in your body that you might feel differences or negative emotion. Is it tightness in your chest? Is it tension in your shoulders or neck? A headache that develops? Or maybe a feeling of a sinking pit in your stomach? Or do you feel aches or other physical disturbances elsewhere in your body? Being able to pinpoint your body's feelings of stress can help you recognize negative emotions earlier. And being fully present and connecting the mind and body is a very powerful tool in managing unwanted thoughts and feelings. Take a moment or two before you move on to the next slide to review the labels of emotions on the left side of this activity in your workbook, and just jot down some of those physical manifestations that might connect to them on the right side. Okay, in step 3, we invite you to unpack and unwind what might be triggering your stress. You've likely done some of this already in the previous steps, but reflect back on what you've already thought about or written or circled, the words that describe your thoughts and emotions, and the physical manifestations of that mental and emotional stress. Can you now identify events or activities that trigger those feelings? Related to the example we gave before, maybe it's taking your recipient of care on outings that could trigger you. It's very common. Others have said that it's meals. Maybe it's preparing the meal or serving or feeding your recipient of care or cleaning up after meals. Others have said it's dealing with the awkward nature of toileting and personal hygiene for a loved one, which triggers stress. Or remember from the section Kimberly taught about in mindfulness, dressing a loved one was a trigger. Or maybe it's you're leaving the care situation to go to work or to take a break or to be away from it all, and you get stressed when you can't be there managing it. That was certainly a trigger for me. If I was there, I'd be stressed, but I'd be present and in control, and being away and out of control triggered a different kind of experience. You won't be able to identify all the triggers right now, but building this list across time can be a great help. Your subconscious brain will start helping your conscious brain to look for patterns of what escalates and trips the switch of your emotional and mental stress. And you'll start to see such patterns emerge. They exist. Some we know and some we don't know. It may even be helpful to ask others around us if they can identify what we experience that causes us to spiral toward fear, anger, worry, sadness, or overwhelm. Stop here for a minute and just keep thinking about this list, fleshing it out a bit more. Perhaps even close your eyes and take some deep, calming breaths. Replay the last week or two and think about what you've been through and what set off the hard times in this last period. It'll reveal some more answers. And when you've thought some more, identified a few more observations, and written down all that you can, then move to the next slide. You've done good work. You've thought about your feelings and emotions and been introduced to how important it is to label them or name them to tame them. And this helps to remove yourself a bit from the story of those feelings to be an observer and curiously mindful and aware. You've also watched for the mind-body connection so that you can identify where in your body these feelings and emotions are manifest. Those physical feelings can give you a better warning of emotional worries and can explain some of the emotions that may be intangible through physical or tangible manifestations. You next thought of the triggering events and experiences that might lead to these feelings and emotions. Now it's time for some very important work, determining what you can do about all of that.